Is my noise going to affect your recording?
No.
No, you can ask the question. Let me know you're ready.
It's recording. I can.
Okay, ask the question again.
So Curtis, how are we supposed to like move forward and operate and live now? Like, what is our, how do we adapt and be prepared for what we're about to go through?
Yeah, so I think it's important. So the election results weren't legitimate.
Right.
And I say that because elections in this country are, it's a barcode. So we don't know how the election really turned out. I believe, and I have evidence of such, that Kamala actually won, but Trump stole the election. He tried to steal it in 2020, and then he actually, it was documented that he stole it in 2016. So that's the first thing. These electronic voting machines controlled by corporations with ties to Republicans, which are hackable, are always pretty much going to ensure that, pretty much, that white people are going to, control the country. So I just wanted to kind of lay that out. I think, we're going to have to really rely on radical organizing. And the organizing also is going to have to be like intersectional. One of the things that Trump did was that he spent a lot of time, he spent like close to about $250 million, putting out all these anti-trans ads.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is radical organizing for people that don't know what radical organizing is?
I would say radical organizing is organizing that you have to have an analysis of what the root problem is, and you have to have analysis of like the root problem. So like radical organizing in the sense of critiques of capitalism, critiques of patriarchy, critiques of of imperialism, of settler colonialism. It can't just be like like there has to be like kind of like you have to kind of really look at like what are the real root causes of the problems that Black people face. Okay. And it's not just like it's not just Black people don't vote enough. Or we need to buy black, or shit like that. It has to be like really kind of like examining what the root causes of the problems are, and then approaching it from a place of resistance. Because essentially Black people got free through resistance, and that resistance oftentimes was not always peaceful. Oftentimes it involved some violence, in defense of Black life. So it's going to take that, and it has to be intersectional, because it can't be this whole thing of we're gonna exclude Black trans folks or exclude Black queer folks, or of course it has to be intersectional. We're excluding Black women. It has to be like encompassing of everybody. But I don't think, for us that, going down the road of kind of like just making it all about kind of like left-wing politics. Everything is about class and I think, Black people need to be race first in our analysis, because obviously, these white folks, Latino folks, everyone's race first. Everyone hates us. So, in our quest to, we can kind of have solidarity, but we gotta be very Pan-African in our approach.
Okay, so how do Black men that have relationships with white women or Black women that have relationships with white men deal with that same approach then?
So,
if we're dealing about race, like unities that are already formed.
Yeah. So, I don't believe in those type of relationships, because ultimately it leads to a de-radicalization of those individuals. Because it's kind of hard to be like, you can't be pro-Black and be married and be dating and be married and dating a white person. It's just impossible, because all white people are racist. So like, invariably they're going to make you, they're going to dilute that blackness or like that radicalness.
So what about children that are biracial though?
So children are biracial,
How do they form their blackness or understand their blackness then?
So yeah, biracial children, Kamala was black. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's about, kind of like those individuals need to make a decision. Like, are you biracial? You know what I mean? Or are you black? Now I will say white supremacy has a way of kind of letting them know who the fuck they are. You know what I mean? Huh?
I love this conversation.
Yeah,
because I have my family, there's people in my family have chosen to, have biracial children, right? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because out of 2 siblings, we'll say, one is very like hotep and one is a little more on the, we'll say, Carlton side, right?
Yeah.
But how do you force them to choose when both identities are wholly a part of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anyone should be forced. I don't believe. So like, I believe that ultimately those individuals have to make a choice, but I feel like overall that white supremacy oftentimes makes a choice for them. Now, whether they choose to accept that choice, like, you a nigga. Whether they choose to accept that choice is one thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But I also feel like, essentially, like, you have to. You just have to kind of like be you have to be unapologetic. Like, I feel like in a part of our radical organizing, there has to be like unapologetic blackness and unapologetic centering of blackness. You know what I mean? And you're not gonna get everybody to join. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But like, you can kind of make it so where by just like unabashed blackness that people will want to join. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that for me, I don't believe there's any liberation, under civilization, this kind of paradigm that we live in, so I kind of have more like an anarchist, anti-civilization approach to just, because for me, I'm really passionate about the environment. Mm-hmm. So it's like, regardless of whether you're a woman, trans, gay, queer, we all depend upon the natural world. So that natural world's being destroyed, like, we're all fucked. And climate change is the number one killer of black life. It kills about 5 million people a year, and most of those people are black. So for me, I believe, that, we could be race first, but ultimately, really, the foundation is gonna have to be really centering the environment, and protecting the environment, and protecting the natural world, and protecting all the animals, because that's what all life depends upon.
So do we become vegan?
No. Vegan
protecting animals?
Yeah, no. Vegan does not protect. Vegan is like some shit white people invented like 100 years ago. It is not, because essentially, like, in order to have like rice, you have to like destroy all the forest in order to build a rice farm. So that means that all the chimpanzees and the rodents and the birds and the owls, they're all gone or killed in order so you can build a rice farm. So that means I
didn't know that.
Yeah, like there's a good book on that called The Vegetarian Myth. Yeah, being vegan that's hogwash, pun intended. That's not gonna save the fucking environment. You know what I'm saying? So but I feel like, ultimately, like, just kind of getting to the root of stuff, and just, advocating for the marginalized, advocating for the, for unhoused folks, fighting as much as we can, to defund the police, to reduce the amount of prison populations, to decriminalize, all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Expanding women's rights. It's just gonna have to be, radical. You know what I mean? And and we're gonna have to consider using, some different approaches to stuff. Rather than just like marching. And I don't think that like abandoning the Democratic Party is like this. Because essentially like we live in a two-party system. Mm-hmm. So the reality is like, like, what we're gonna abandon the Democratic Party and go to where? Like, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, every single party is controlled by money. You know what I mean? Green Party is controlled by money. They got money from corporations. Cornel West got money from corporations. I'm pretty sure the Party of Socialism and Liberation got money from, you know, like, because everything's controlled by money. So this whole idea of like, oh, we need to build a third, you know, like, I think that's not going to work. But yeah, I do believe, you know, just and you mentioned something about like, you know, black people oftentimes kind of like they wouldn't fight back, you know, but I feel like even today, like, you know, like me personally, like, you know, like, because a lot of black people have to deal with the police. You know what I'm saying? If you deal with, you know, if you talk back to the police, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, that, you know, racial progress was always an illusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like in the sense of like white supremacy has always been here. True. Yes, we've beat it back in some ways through, you know, through radical struggle and killing trappers, whatever, you know, blowing off Confederates' heads. But it's always been here. You know what I'm saying? So like now in the 60s they had the Klan, but now you just have the police. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like, you know, like Chrissy told me, like, you know, she had her uncle oftentimes used to have to, you know, deal with yes sir. You know, when she was being stopped by the police in South Georgia, there couldn't be like no fight back. He would get killed. So, you know, so I do think understanding some of those survival methods are still important. But yeah, you know, just a lot of resistance. A lot of resistance. You know, and it can't just be to Trump. It has to be, you know, to America and everything that America represents. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like for me, it's like you could I voted for Kamala, but I was very clear like who Kamala was working for. So I would have still been in the streets like protesting. You know what I mean? You know, I still, you know what I mean? Because I know, you know, like ultimately, like she's a black face for white power. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like you know, I mean now, hey, she may make sure some of the seniors get Social Security benefits and people get food stamps, you know, and affirmative action is not totally about, you know what I mean, whatever, but, you know, but that's it. Like, you know, anything else, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's like, she's gonna fund the police. She's gonna, you know, she's a prosecutor. You know, so the prosecutor's job is to put black people in prison. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, president's job is to, you know, is to oppress black people. So, you know, that's it.